Okay, welcome to my not so private office. Hopefully, as we're going through this report for my class, the Pentateuch, on morality and ethics within the Pentateuch, my children won't decide to come in and interrupt, or the dog won't be jumping on my leg. But so we're going to discuss the overall report, and you'll be able to see that in the paper as well. Morality and ethics in the Pentateuch. Moral philosophy has been often regarded throughout human history. Specifically, Aristotle, he posited on an ethical system that was connected to self-realization. It was not a religion per se, but it was about the self and what you could find out in all contexts of things around you. Hedonism posited that the principal ethic behind it was maximizing pleasure, minimizing pain. I think we see a lot of that today in Western society, and certainly this is not connected to any form of Christianity or even Judaism that we know of. There was also the Stoic philosophers. They posited that the greatest good was contentment and serenity. In all of these things, and any time that you discuss or study ethics, it often comes down, or always comes down, to the fact where you have to make certain conclusive decisions about who decides the rules, where did they come from, how are they enforced, and who judges those rules, and are there any additional implications to these rules? Are there implications as to not following the rules? Is there even a difference between the rules, obeying the rules, living the rules? Is there outcomes for these things? And humanism plays into this as well. And there are ethics and morality seen in humanism and philosophy. But the answer for a secular perspective always comes back to the self. But from the viewpoint of Scripture, Scripture presents itself as the ultimate source of authority that establishes a standard set of norms. There are rules, guiding principles, and laws from which to lead humanity. The Hebrew people that were a part of the people of the book, or a part of the people of the Pentateuch, saw and believed that Yahweh, their God, had the right to command, and out of gratitude that they should obey. Furthermore, to them, God is the only proper beginning point for any biblical-oriented religion or ethic. So in this report, I'm just going to give an overview of the underlying principles of ethics and morality within the Pentateuch, and I'm going to review some of the viewpoints in regarding the ethics of holiness as it applies to ethics, and then provide some application to a contemporary apostolic theology. So let us begin. Okay, in order to begin from the same page so that we're connecting here, we can go through some basic definitions. Ethics can be defined in general as a system of moral principles or rules of conduct. These rules of conduct are recognized in respect to a particular class of human actions, or a particular group or culture, etc. Morality, on the other hand, is conformity to the rules of right conduct, moral conduct, virtuous conduct, or the quality or character of that conduct. So here we see, while morality appears to be based on the conduct or action of an individual or of a culture, ethics is the system of rules of conduct from which that judgment takes place. How do we know that someone is acting in an ethical manner? How do we know that the attorney or the banker or whoever it is acting in an ethical manner? No comments. How do we know that someone is being moral? Because we have a code. We have a set of principles. We have a set of defined principles that we as a culture have embraced and we have pulled in. It can be a secular culture. In this particular instance, in this report, it is a religious culture, but nevertheless, it is something that is embraced, and we use this as the way to judge actions. We value and evaluate actions based on this ethical code. We see through this lens. The Pentateuch storyline does serve as an historical basis from which we find our origins. Joel Riley covered this in his report on cosmology, so there's no reason to go into that. He did a great job. But the Pentateuch here does do that, but it also functions as a foundation for a code of conduct to its participants. In this particular case, that code is established by God. It is established by Yahweh God. And the reason for that established conduct is not just a set of rules, but it is a focus for a relationship on God. Sometimes I think that we see our ethics or morality in a list of rules that we need to follow as just arbitrary. Whether I guess you could have at some point an ethic for hygiene, but so your list of rules for hygiene, you need to brush your teeth, you need to comb your hair, you need to make sure to use soap, things like that. But in this particular case, this is not just a set of rules, but this is a code of conduct, so that we as a people, in this particular case it would be the Hebrew people in the Pentateuch, could establish a relationship with God by, in their conduct, their behavior, their ethical behavior, their moral behavior, so they would serve as a reflection of God. Holiness, for example, is one of those areas where I'm not going to get too into that as far as what is considered holy, what is not considered holy, specifically how that is defined both in the Christian realm and the apostolic realm. But in the Pentateuch, for example, holiness is not put forward as a means to become holy, as I am holy. It's a commandment. Yes, God gives a commandment, be holy for I am holy. There it is. There's the commandment, be holy for I am holy. But it is easy to misconstrue that to say that God says be perfect, and well, we're human beings and we're sinners and we're not perfect. But it's not really the position or the focus of God so that an individual human being would be holy, but instead to have holiness as a mindset, or that code of conduct as the means by which they live their lives on a day-to-day basis, that they begin to establish a relationship with God, and holiness becomes a reflection of that relationship with God. Korah was the head of a rebellion, and part of the reason for that was because of the redefinition of the concept of who owns holiness. Is it the individual, or is it the only holy God? If it's the individual, then by my conduct I am holy. If it's God, then by my conduct I can become more like Him who is holy. Love of God, love of neighbor, righteousness, these are all underlying principles for the ethical and moral positions of the Pentateuch.